pilot. Today we will practice landing procedures. I currently have the mission in an active pause state. Press space when you are ready to begin. Landing is one of the most challenging flight. The aircraft is near stall speed when landing. This requires enormous attention, concentration, and precision from you when controlling the aircraft. If the aircraft stalls during landing, there may not be enough altitude to recover the aircraft. Before you approach landing into Seniki Airfield, the pressure must be set on the altimeter. Do this by rotating the pressure knob with the mouse wheel or by pressing the left Alt plus left Shift plus A and left Alt plus left Shift plus S keys to set an altimeter pressure of 29.69. Check the pressure in the utility and booster hydraulic systems. The pressure readout on the utility and flight control pressure gauges should be within 2,800 and 3,200 psi. The utility hydraulic system is responsible for gear extension, braking, steering, and it backs up the hydraulic booster system that is responsible for controlling the aircraft. Press space to continue. In the center of the instrument panel is the HSI. Rotate the HSI course set knob to a landing course of 268 degrees by using the mouse wheel or left Alt plus left Shift plus 3 and left Alt plus left Shift plus 4 keys. The landing courses of an airfield can be found on airfield charts on the kneeboard, right Shift plus K. Change pages with left bracket and right bracket keys. A typical landing approach is described in the briefing figures left Alt plus B, and it consists of the following stages. 1. Be at an airspeed of 300 knots and an altitude of 1,500 feet at approximately 3 miles from the runway threshold. 2. Fly over the runway along the landing course and begin a left turn towards downward leg while keeping an altitude of 1,500 feet. 3. Set the wing control mechanization to the auto position, F. Check that the flap lever is in the thumb switch position. Reduce engine RPM to reach an airspeed of 260 knots. 4. At an airspeed of less than 260 knots, extend the landing gear by lowering the landing gear lever, G key. 5. Check that the landing gear is locked and that the landing gear position indicator lights all show green. 6. While maintaining an altitude of 1,500 feet, reduce engine RPM to reach an airspeed of 165 knots. Check that the wing control mechanisms are fully extended both visually and on the flaps indicator. 7. Turn on to the landing course at an airspeed of 165 knots and an altitude of 1,500 feet. 8. Once on the landing course, start descending at vertical speed of minus 1,000 feet per minute. Reduce engine RPM to reach a stable airspeed of 145 knots. As a result, the angle of attack indicator should point to the 3 o'clock mark. On the angle of attack indexer, a green circle should be visible. Continue descending to the runway threshold. 9. While approaching the runway threshold, reduce vertical speed to -400 feet per minute. At an altitude of 20 feet, start flaring. Do this by slowly pulling the stick back to reduce vertical speed so that aircraft is flying 2 to 3 feet over the runway without descending. Gradually reduce RPM to idle and allow the aircraft to land gently on the main landing gear at a speed of 135 knots. 10. Slowly lower the nose wheel and then engage traction, P key. Start braking based on the distance to the taxi turnoff. This aircraft has no anti-skid system. Therefore, in case of a skid, you must release the brakes, align the aircraft down the runway, and continue braking. Press space to continue. Attention! If remaining fuel is more than 1,000 pounds, your approach and landing speed must be increased by 1 knot per 200 pounds over. If the guns have a full ammunition load, you need to increase the speed another 5 knots. Your aircraft has 1,000 pounds of fuel and no gun ammunition. Using the Set Index knob, you can set calculated landing speed on the airspeed and Mach indicators. Press space to start flight. Descend along the landing course to an altitude of 1,500 feet with a vertical speed around -2,000 feet per minute and an airspeed of 300 knots. Once over the runway, start turning left towards the downwind leg. Set the thumb switch to the auto position, F key. Once on the downwind leg, reduce speed to 260 knots and extend the landing gear G key. Check that the landing gear is extended and locked. 3 green lights on the landing gear position indicator should be lit. Maintain an altitude of 1,500 feet and set engine RPM to reach an airspeed of 165 knots. Check the extension of the wing mechanisms, both visually and on the flaps indicator. The landing course while maintaining an airspeed of 165 knots and an altitude of 1,500 feet. Final approach, start descending with a vertical speed of minus 1,000 feet per minute. Set your airspeed to 145 knots. The angle of attack pointer on the angle of attack indicator must point to the mark at around the 3 o'clock position. Also, the green circle should be visible on the angle of attack indexer. Continue descending towards the runway threshold. Approaching the runway threshold, reduce vertical speed to minus 400 feet per minute.
At an altitude of approximately 20 feet, slowly pull back on the stick to reduce vertical speed such that the aircraft is flying 2 to 3 feet over the runway without descending. Gradually reduce RPM to idle and allow the main wheels to gently make contact with the runway. Smoothly lower the nose wheel and engage drag chute by pressing the P key. Rudder pedals Z and X keys to keep the aircraft rolling straight down the center of the runway and begin braking W key. This aircraft has no anti-skid system. Therefore, if the aircraft begins to skid, you must release the brakes, align the aircraft down the center of the runway, and then continue braking. At a speed of less than 60 knots, engage nose wheel steering by holding down the S key. Continue rolling down the taxiway, where an escort vehicle is waiting for you.
Good day, 36. Follow me.
After exiting the runway, you must disconnect the drag chute by holding P key or by left mouse button clicking the drag chute T handle on the left side of the instrument panel. To return handle to the initial position, press it once again. Before opening the canopy, you must equalize the internal cockpit pressure with the external one. On the environmental control panel, open the right mouse button click or press right control plus right shift plus A to toggle the switch to the ram dump position. This will ventilate the cockpit. Move the thumb switch control. If you did not extend the air brakes while landing, do it now by pressing left shift plus B or by left mouse button clicking on the speed brake slider switch on the stick.